Welcome back everyone to our video, and today we're going over every NFL team's biggest free agency signing as of right now. Now, I'm not gonna lie, a few of these are some trades, but I feel like they're just so big I can't just skip over them. So okay, not technically every team has a free agency sign that I'm choosing to highlight, but I do want to make one thing very clear before we jump right into it, is that I am trying to highlight signings that were not within the team. Okay, so not re-signing players. I'm trying to focus on new faces coming into the organization and stuff like that. So for an example, like the Chiefs, they re-signed Chris Jones and they also signed Marquise Brown. Re-signing Chris Jones is obviously a way bigger deal than signing Marquise Brown, but for that, I'm probably going to choose to highlight Marquise Brown because it is something new for the team. So that's kind of the focus of this. For a couple of them, I am going to highlight big re-signings I feel like just have to be the headline for that team, but I'm mainly trying to focus on new people coming over to the team, if that makes sense. So the first team we're going to talk about is the Bengals. We're going to start in the AFC North and just make our way through the divisions like that. And so I'm not going to lie, I wanted to talk about Geno Stone, and I missed his post they made. I'm not going to lie, they probably made the post, I just didn't see it. But I decided to use Zach Moss for this. We're just going to do both, basically. I think Geno Stone is a huge addition for the Bengals in the secondary. I think it's a really nice move for them because they needed more of a ball hawk safety, and he had 7 interceptions last year, so he's definitely going to fill that hole for him. And then Zach Moss, I think, is also a great running back piece. I think it's a little weird to let go of Joe Mixon to sign him. I don't think it's too much of a difference as far as money goes, and Mixon was already kind of in the system and all, but you know what? I'm sure Zach Moss is an upgrade. I know he's definitely a better run blocker, so I think that is a nice move for the Bengals. And we went to the Browns. This is one of those things where, again, I said this is not technically a free agency signing, but I have to highlight this. I think Jerry Jeudy to the Browns is a big move for them. Last year, I thought Elijah Moore was going to be a big piece for them. Turns out he wasn't really. He had some nice plays, but wasn't as consistent as I thought he would be. We didn't really see how he had that rookie season in New York. That's kind of what I thought was going to be coming out a bit more in Cleveland. Just didn't really happen. But Jeudy, I think, is a very nice wide receiver to Amari Cooper. They're both great route runners, and hopefully Jeudy can stay healthy, and if he does, I think it's a big move for the Browns. And also, I want to say one more thing, is that I have tried to film this video, I think, 2 different times, and every time I do, more news comes out of another big trade. So if a big thing happens that I'm not talking about this video, it is probably because it just hasn't happened yet at the time of recording this. So hopefully this video can be out and at least be somewhat on time, I guess, and talk about everything. But if something big happens, it is what it is. I can't really go back and cover it. And then for the Steelers, so I decided to talk about both of these guys, Patrick Queen and Russell Wilson. Those are the biggest moves I believe the Steelers made. I think Patrick Queen's a big signing for him. He's a great player on the Ravens defense, obviously. Very good linebacker. I think he's going to fit in very well in Pittsburgh as well. And then Russell Wilson, honestly, it's kind of surprised me, but I think they only have to pay him $1 million because the Broncos are paying him so much money. So you don't really have anything to lose. I think it is a bit crazier that Kenny Pickett got traded away. I did not see that happening. But yeah, as of right now, Russell Wilson and maybe one of their quarterbacks on the roster right now, maybe none, honestly. I don't really remember, but maybe Fields gets traded as a backup to Pittsburgh. I don't know. But these two big-time signings on both offense and defense for the Steelers. And then finishing up the AFC North, which is crazy, is the Derrick Henry signing. Now, some people are like, Derrick Henry's old, and, it doesn't really matter as much. And, look, I think regardless, no, he's not prime Derrick Henry, but he's a great player. I think he's going to fit in very well in Baltimore. And he's a tough guy to bring down, and they can do some crazy options with him and Lamar in that offense. So I'm very excited to see this. I also think this is just, it's not that important, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think he's going to look really good in the Ravens uniform, so I'd throw that out there too. And then the AFC West, so the Chargers have made bigger moves as far as getting rid of people. I think they have made other moves, bringing guys in. I just chose to talk about Gus Edwards because I do think he's a great player. He's coming off his best career year. I hope he kind of gets the same opportunity there in Los Angeles to kind of do the same thing. Will that happen? Who knows? It's going to be a new-looking team. It's literally just Herbert right now. It's Quentin Johnson's wide receiver 1. So there's still some things to figure out. Long way to go in the offseason, but I do think this is a potentially big addition for them on offense. And as I said before, I do think that Chris Jones re-signing is a bigger deal, just for the record. But I am going to choose to highlight Marquise Brown because this is also a big deal. Mahomes doesn't have the best receivers, and it's honestly kind of crazy that they got it done getting a back-to-back Super Bowl win because they didn't have some of the receiver groups that other teams have. And Mahomes was able to kind of elevate everybody on the roster enough to get those wins. But Marquise Brown is a potentially big signing for them. He's very fast. he can get open. I don't know if he has drop issues. I think I saw people talking about that. To be honest, I have not paid a lot of attention to him in Arizona. I know he had a good, I think, first year there, but after that, I think slowed down and had injuries on and on, or on and off. But regardless, I think he is still a much better receiver than some of the guys they had out there in Chiefs uniforms last year. So it's still a big signing in my opinion. And then for the Raiders, Christian Wilkins. Now I'm not gonna lie, this is a big signing that I did not see the Raiders landing. I'm not sure where I thought he was gonna go. Maybe like Arizona or something, but I did not think he was gonna go to Las Vegas. But this is a big move for them. I'm very interested to see how the Raiders tackled the draft and the rest of the offseason with the new GM in there and Antonio Pierce officially, the actual head coach now. So it's a big move, though. It's a big move, and it's a great move, in my opinion. Now, him and Max Crosby on the same D-line. Very, very nice, and in my opinion, definitely their biggest free agency signing. And I chose Brandon Jones to highlight for the Broncos because they did lose Justin Simmons. I think they released him officially, and this is going to kind of help fill the gap. I mean, is he going to be as good as Justin Simmons was in there? Honestly, probably not. I don't know. Maybe he fell off, and I'm just not up to date with that like some Broncos fans may be. But I do think this is going to at least help bridge the gap a little bit because Simmons was a great player at one point for sure. Whether he slowed down or not, I don't know. But Brandon Jones, I do think is going to help that secondary a bit. So I think that's probably the Broncos' biggest signing. I think they also had maybe some O-line signings. I might begin to mix up with a different team, but I still decided to just highlight him anyways. So New England was kind of tied for me with Antonio Gibson and the offensive lineman who was a re-signing. That's why I didn't choose to highlight him once again. But I think it's Mike Onwenu. I probably just butchered that last name. I'm really sorry. But that's a big re-signing for them on the O-line. Outside of the team, though, they did sign Antonio Gibson, who I think can actually really help the pass game a little bit. For whatever quarterback they bring in there, I think some checkdowns. Gibson is not bad out of the backfield. He does have some fumbling issues, but I think this is a potentially good signing. Is it their biggest? No, but out of the team signing, I do think it's potentially the biggest. And then for the Dolphins, they are signing Jordan Poyer. I think he's a great player, obviously, all-pro. I think he's going to help them a lot in the secondary. I don't remember the actual contract as far as the money goes for this, but I think it's a great move for the Dolphins. And I think it's going to fit him very well in that defense. And the Bills are another team that have re-signed people. They've also let a lot of people go, but again, choosing to highlight an out-of-team signing, basically. I think Curtis Samuel is a very interesting signing. He's more of a playmaker. I don't know if this was really necessary because I think Khalil Shakir is honestly kind of similar to him and also, is already pretty good. But again, it can't hurt, I don't think, bringing Curtis Samuel in. I liked him in Carolina, and then they let him go, and he went to Washington and was, pretty good there as well. So I think it's a good signing for the Bills and should help Josh Allen on offense a little bit, especially if they end up losing Stephon Diggs, because they did lose Gabe Davis in free agency. And then the AFC South. So I'm going to talk about Danielle Hunter for the Texans. So the Texans have had a fairly good free agency. I mean, I'd honestly say pretty good. I know some people have some mixed opinions on people they've signed and also what they've lost, but I think Danielle Hunter is a huge signing for that D-line. You now have him and Will Anderson, even though you did lose Jonathan Greenard, I think is his last name. But Danielle Hunter is a great player. I think it's a big free agency signing. It's going to give them a lot more depth on the D-line. It's going to be a starter, so I think it's their biggest signing. And the Colts are one that I really had to mention Michael Pittman. I know it's not, out of the team or whatever, like I've chosen to highlight for the most part, but Michael Pittman Jr. is a great player. I think he's honestly a very underrated wide receiver. And now that you have Anthony Richardson coming back next year, he's going to need a solidified wide receiver one. So it's a big deal you re-signed him. You have him on the team, and you know for sure Richardson definitely has a wide receiver one with him. So I think this is a big time signing. I'm very glad they got this done as well. And then this really surprised me. So Jacksonville actually landed Eric Armstead. I think this is an amazing signing. Definitely their biggest. I know they also signed Gabe Davis, but I would say this is, by far the better signing. I don't know where he was projected to go, really, but I didn't think the Jaguars were really mentioned until the deal broke. So, great move by them. I think it's their biggest signing by far. And the Titans, of course, signing Calvin Ridley. So, to me, this is their biggest signing. I want to say they gave him 3 or 4 years, $92 million. Maybe that's too high. I can't remember. In my opinion, I think they may have paid him a little too much because he is close to 30 because, he missed that year of suspension, basically. But he's a great player. He's instantly the best wide receiver on the Titans. DeAndre Hopkins obviously is probably the best, but assuming he's going to continue to kind of slow down, then I think Ridley would be the best. But again, Hopkins may be, beating time as of right now, and if that's the case, he's still the best receiver on the team. But I'm just saying, as he gets older, I would assume he starts slowing down. Ridley will, still be, I would hope, performing better than older Hopkins, but who knows? I think regardless, Ridley's a big time signing for him. I think he's going to help him out a lot at receiver after they lost A.J. Brown a couple of years ago. So now they have Ridley, now they have Hopkins, and now they have Treylon Burks. I think it's a lot better for him down there in Nashville. Now to the NFC. We'll start out with the NFC East. And the Cowboys signed Eric Kendricks. It's basically one of two signings between him and a long snapper. So pretty good, I guess. I don't know. They just haven't done anything. And then for the Giants. So as a Panthers fan, I have a lot of thoughts on this move. It is technically a trade, but again, I feel like this is way too big of a move not to highlight. I think the Panthers, I can't be mad at the front office because the people making this decision were not the same people that turned down the previous trade available for him for 2 first-round picks. So I think the Giants absolutely got a steal here for what they gave Carolina. Burns is a great player. He did only have 8 sacks last year. I know Panthers fans are bringing that up a lot. But again, Burns also, the Panthers were getting smacked so often. He wasn't really getting to the quarterback because they're just running the ball every time because they're up by so many points. So I think Burns is a great player. I don't think he's great in the run game, but I think he is, adding on to that Giants D-line, I think he's going to absolutely be amazing. So I think it's a great addition for them. They didn't have to give up too much to get him, in my opinion. I think it's pretty good value. And yeah, so good move for the Giants. And then this really surprised me. So Saquon Barkley to the Eagles. Apparently he is dead to Tiki Barber. Not that anybody really cares, but just throwing that out there. I know this must suck though as a Giants fan because seeing a player that you've loved for the past few years and really a fan favorite go to a division rival, I wouldn't be happy, that's all I'm saying. But I do think as for the Eagles, it's going to help the offensive lot. I've heard a couple of saying that this is one of the more overrated signings that have happened. But I think Saquon is going to be able to really take pressure off of Jalen Hurts at times. Because that offense was kind of all over the place last year. I thought a lot of it had to do with coaching and play calling. But again, if they can get back to kind of how that offense was their Super Bowl season a couple of years ago, now with Kellen Moore in there, I think they're going to be able to do a lot of cool options and plays with Saquon Barkley in there. Hopefully he can stay healthy. I know it's always kind of a concern with him, but the past couple of years he's been pretty good. I know people have said maybe he's slowed down a little bit. I think it's a great signing, at least in my opinion. But again, let me know down below what your guys' favorite team did in free agency or what your favorite move that your favorite team made in free agency, if I didn't talk about it. So, yeah. But anyway, Eagles, I think it's a great signing for Saquon Barkley. So Washington, I want to highlight this. So Washington signed bigger named people like Bobby Wagner and stuff like that. Guys that aren't exactly in their prime anymore. But I want to talk about Frankie Luvu because I don't think if you're a Panthers fan, you probably, if you're just kind of the average NFL watcher, which is perfectly fine, you probably don't know a lot about this guy. But I think he's going to be very, very good in Washington playing for Dan Quinn. I think he's going to absolutely feast in that defense. And I think that's probably why he signed there because A, I don't want to sit through a rebuild in Carolina and lose every game, and B, play for a great defensive coach and a team that is, still rebuilding, but at least a new culture and just kind of a different change of scenery from what happened in Carolina. I think Frankie Luvu is a great player. He plays with a lot of fight. He's a very big competitor, and I think he's going to fit in very well to Dan Quinn's defense. I want to throw that out there. Washington, maybe not the person that people expected me to highlight for that team, but as a Panthers fan, I do think this is a big signing for Washington. And then this was the trade that made me have to delay this video in the first place because I was like, okay, I think all the crazy stuff for the most part's over. And then this came out. The Bears getting Keenan Allen for a 4th-round pick, which is, again, not technically free agency signing. I've said before, but this is a big move. And I have talked about this. A 4th-round pick for Keenan Allen, I don't know, is that what he's worth in the trade market, or did they get fleeced? I don't know, because to me, I was like, oh, that's a horrible trade, but, is that really what he's worth at this point in his career? I don't know. Personally, I think he's still very good, and I think especially in Chicago, he doesn't have to be the guy. They already have DJ Moore. So Keenan Allen could be, wide receiver 2 for as good as he is. He could be wide receiver 1B, if that makes sense, to where they both get similar volume. But, regardless, I think he's going to complement DJ Moore very well. I think he's someone that can get open very easily for whether that be Fields or Caleb Williams, whoever it is. But I think this is a big time move for the Bears, and it's just really, really helping their offense. And then as for the Lions, they signed DJ Reader. This is a big move for them. He was great in Cincinnati, very good at stopping the run. He's a really big body, great player. I think he's going to help out that defense a ton, especially the D-line. Now have him and Hutchinson on there. Big time signing for Detroit. Hopefully Reader comes back healthy. I believe he tore his quad last year. I could be wrong. But, hopefully he comes back healthy, because if he does, this is a huge signing for the Lions. And in my opinion, definitely their biggest. And then for the Vikings, they signed Jonathan Greenard. And again, this is, you could probably pick, and I'm just going to go up here for a second. I know people are going to say if I didn't. Aaron Jones is also a big-time signing for both offense and defense. These guys were kind of tied for me as who I wanted to kind of talk about, so I thought, why not just mention both? As far as Greenard goes, I think it's an awesome move. I think it's going to help out their D-line a lot. They lost Neil Hunter, and I think this is a great replacement for him, to be honest. And then as far as Aaron Jones goes, the running back position last year is a little questionable in Minnesota after you lose Dalvin Cook. You have Madison in there, who is a bit fumble-prone, to be honest, but Jones is a great playmaker. On the run, after the catch. I think he's a great player. I think he's going to help out a lot, whoever that quarterback is, whether it's Sam Darnold or someone they draft, I don't know. But two very nice moves from Minnesota. And then for the Packers, so they signed Xavier McKinney, and to me, this is definitely their biggest move, because they've needed someone back there in the secondary, someone there at safety. And McKinney is a great player. We saw the Packers last year at the end of the season, heat up right when it really mattered. And the defense stepped up after being burnt a lot of the year. I think McKinney's going to help that defense not get burnt. I think he's a great player. I'm excited to see how he fits in Green Bay. But yeah, big signing for the Packers. And then for Carolina, I did want to highlight both of their O-linemen they signed, both Damian Lewis and Robert Hunt. I think it's two great signings. Yes, you gave them a lot of money, but you have to protect Bryce Young. If you want to evaluate this guy and give this guy a fair chance, at least give him some sort of time to throw. You can't throw an already undersized quarterback in the NFL with no good weapons and have him get sacked 60 plus times and then be surprised he doesn't perform well. There's probably a reason for that. Not that Bryce Young is free of all criticism, because he did not play well at times at all. But again, I think this is the right move to at least give this guy a chance to play. Two big signings. I know Deontay Johnson's also a big move, but again, technically it was a trade. So I decided to highlight these two guys as well. Great signings in my opinion. And then Atlanta, they signed Kirk Cousins. And I really hate this move as a Panthers fan, because I don't want the Falcons to be good. As a football fan, I think it's an absolutely great signing for the Falcons. It seems to me like the Falcons could have been so much better if they had an even slightly competent quarterback in there. I mean, an offense where you had Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier, you had Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and you just couldn't get stuff done. You just couldn't. You had a pretty good defense, too. So I think Kirk Cousins is going to do a great job of helping those guys out, distributing the ball well. That is assuming he comes back healthy after the Achilles tear. Again, he's an older quarterback considering an Achilles tear. But again, he already wasn't the most mobile guy in the world, so hopefully he can bounce back well from that. And because, yeah, they gave him a lot of money as well, but I do think it's a great signing for Atlanta and definitely their biggest. The Saints, I'm not going to lie, I wasn't really keeping up with the Saints. It seems like it's been more of a slower free agency for them. They did sign Willie Gay, so that should help out their defense at least a little bit. Is it the craziest signing in the world? Not really, but the Saints can still kind of hopefully kill it in the draft. I think they have a first-round pick and all, so yeah, that's for the Saints. Then for the Buccaneers, I just chose to use this Madden graphic because it kind of highlights all three guys returning that I wanted to talk about. The Buccaneers did bring, I think, a couple guys in free agency that are pretty good from other teams. But to me, re-signing these three were absolutely key in them being competitive next year, because Mayfield and Evans played very well together, went to the divisional, and they lost it there, but still, and Antoine Winfield, huge part of that defense. I think probably their best defensive player. So I think it's big that they re-signed those three. Very happy for the Buccaneers fans that they got their guys back, and to me, those are their biggest free agency signings. And then for Arizona, I'm going to highlight two players. One is Jonah Williams. I think he's going to be very good in Arizona. I think he did struggle at times in Cincinnati, but the Cardinals did need some O-linemen to help protect Kyler Murray, and I think this is a nice signing for them. And then defensively, they did sign Sean Murphy-Bunting as well. Should definitely help them out in the secondary. It gives them corner depth, And yeah, so 2 nice signings from the Cardinals right there. And then as for the Rams, they are signing Cameron Curl. I think it's a very nice move for them for their secondary. The Rams were way more competitive last season than I thought they would be. So I think this is a nice step to kind of help keep them competitive after they did just lose Aaron Donald to retirement. One of the best defensive players of all time. Obviously, he wasn't a player in the secondary, but regardless, still helping their defense stay somewhat competitive with this signing. I think it's a nice move for them. So Cameron Curl to the Rams. And then as for the 49ers, they signed Leonard Floyd. I think it's a nice move, helps them on the D line. They've signed a lot of D linemen. Like they've signed a guy from Carolina. They signed Leonard Floyd. And I think they signed 2 more guys as well that, like, I mean, aren't the biggest name people in the world. That's also after trading for Chase Young last year as well. And you already have Nick Bosa. So pretty crazy D-line for the 49ers. But yeah, I think it's a nice signing. Leonard Floyd's a great player. It gives him a nice rotational piece. He might be a starter as well for him, honestly. So good signing by the 49ers as well. And then finally ending off with the Seahawks. They did re-sign Leonard Williams, and I wanted to mention this, even though it is not a out of team signing or whatever. I think it's a great player. I think it's a very nice move for them to continue giving their D-line depth. He's great at stopping the run. I think he's a great player. I think it is Seattle's biggest move. So that is every team's biggest free agency signing as of right now. Threw in a few trades as well. If there's anything you guys wanted me to highlight that I didn't, be sure to comment that down below. Again, these are just the guys I thought have the biggest impact. There are definitely some that I did leave out or not mention, but again, this has been a crazy free agency. A lot of people going all over the place. So comment down below any moves I didn't mention that you guys think should be highlighted. If you guys are new around here, be sure to subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. I do Madden and NFL content. Madden, I do like a No Money Spent series and gameplays and pack openings and that kind of stuff. And then for NFL, we do videos like this, just kind of talking about football news. We rank teams and we rank players. We do draft content and all kinds of stuff like that. So if you're a football fan, it is always football content on the channel one way or another. So thank you guys for watching. I do really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.